Anyways, now that we have all that aside, we had a lot of stuff going on today. Um, some interesting things, to say the least, and some worrisome things, I think. But wanted to start the show out with this because this is, as we move into further and further into July, okay, I mean, I was just talking about Mission Impossible, but one of the other movies that is really everybody has a buzz and is dying to see, including Tom Cruise for that matter, is Barbie. So Barbie is this movie that was announced way back when and finally made and everything else. And everybody's like, well, they're making a Barbie movie? What? Huh? So there was an interesting article in the New Yorker. I touched upon it the other day. You guys can go see it on the NewYorker.com. It's a phenomenal article. It touches upon all of the different IPs that they're looking at, and how Barbie actually came into inception and all that good stuff. Anyways, the reason I brought this up because it's always interesting to me what happens when what goes on during filming. So anybody who is familiar with this, okay, knows that there were a couple of leaked photographs. And one of the leaked photographs was when Barbie and Ken were rollerblading. So this actually came from Variety. And basically, the headline reads, Barbie set visitors high-five Ryan Gosling, but wouldn't say anything to Margot Robbie. They just looked at her and made her felt, quote, self-conscious. Greta Gerwig revealed in a new interview with Rolling Stone that some of the set visitors on Barbie, the set of Barbie, made Margot Robbie feel, quote, self-conscious during filming when they interacted far more with her co-star, Ken, actor Ryan Gosling, than they did her. Gerwig was talking about the time the crew spent filming a rollerblading scene in Venice. Set photos from the scene for Robbie and Gosling in neon outfits leaked last summer during production, and this is the photograph right down here. Um, how Barbie operates in Barbie Land is entirely continuous with her environment, Gerwig said. Even the houses have no walls because you never need to hide. There's nothing to be ashamed of or embarrassed of. And suddenly finding yourself in the real world and wishing you could hide. That's the essence of being human. But when we were actually shooting on Venice Beach with Margot and Ryan in neon rollerblading outfits, it was fascinating because it was actually happening in front of us. People would go by Ryan, high five him, say, awesome, Ryan, you look great. And they wouldn't say anything to Margot, Gerwig said. They just looked at her. It was surreal. In the moment, she did feel self-conscious. And as the director, I wanted to protect her, but I also knew the scene was her shooting being the scene where she felt exposed. So she was exposed both as a celebrity and a lady. Gerwig added, to be fair, Ryan was like, I wish I wasn't wearing this vest, but it was a different kind of discomfort. Rollerblading outfits became one of the most viral sensations to emerge from the Barbie movie. Appearing on The Tonight Show last year, Robbie called the leaked photographs mortifying. I can't tell you how mortified I was, by the way, Robbie said when she hosted with Jimmy Fallon. As the viewers saw the photos, we were like laughing and having fun, but we were dying on the inside. Dying. I mean, it was like, this is the most humiliating moment of my life. When asked if she thought the Barbie set photos would dominate the internet buzz the way they did, Robbie said, no. I mean, I knew they were going to have some exteriors to shoot in LA. I knew once you were doing exteriors, you'd get packed. There's probably a little crowd going on, but you're never going to take notice because, we stand there out a little bit in those outfits. So I knew there was going to be a little bit of attention, and probably some of those photos would get out there, but not like it did. She concluded by going on saying it was like mad. It was hundreds of people watching all the time. And of course, that hits theaters on the 21st. But I thought it was very telling, okay? Because that being said, we see her, and the piece goes on to talk about it. Gerwig said this, not only was she exposed as a celebrity, which is hard enough, okay? But now she gets exposed as a woman. And I think that being said, And look, I understand the script called for it and everything else, but you have to feel for her. You really do. Because at the same time, she's just doing a job, right? She's just doing a job. And I think that when you have somebody of her stature, who's arguably not only one of the most beautiful women in the world, but one of the most famous women in the world, and she's been getting all of this work for the past 5 years, whether it's The Big Short, Wolf of Wall Street, Barbie. I mean, you name it. She's even rumored to play Sue Storm in the upcoming Fantastic Four. I mean, all that being said, though, but when you see somebody that is getting all of the praise and everything else, and then on the flip side, nobody's getting a praise. It's I kind of wish, and even Ryan said to a certain extent that, hey, look, this was uncomfortable, but it was for a different reason. And I think that, I got to be honest, it had to be tough for her. It had to be really, really tough for her to go through this. And so, I mean, I'm sure we're going to all look back at this in a couple of years, especially if this is a financial success and she's going to be more comfortable in her skin. Right now, and this is why I always say this, guys. We look at the here and now, and then we look at let's say, give it some time to breathe, and let's say 5 years. Whether it's something like The Flash or Indiana Jones 5 or even Barbie or whatever else. This is why films have to be examined here, right now in the moment, and 5 years from now. And I think that if they do decide to go on and make a Barbie sequel, which, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing a sequel. Obviously, I haven't seen the film, but I think that this is going to be really a fun movie. And, I've always said, and I'm going to be flat out honest about this. I have my doubts, just because, not because of the movie's content. I'm in love with this movie. I can't wait to see this movie because of the last trailer, and that's what hooked me. But because of the release date, I just don't know. And look, I understand it's counter programming and everything else. But getting back to what I was saying, I really wonder. I mean, this is why you have to examine films. And I think that if there is a sequel to this, and I have no doubt if this is successful, there will be a sequel. She'll feel more comfortable in her own skin and everything else. But I do feel bad for her, because at the same time, nobody should have to go through that. I mean, she should have gotten just as many, high fives from people as with Ryan. It's that simple. And obviously she's not. And then you have the set photos leak, and that's another thing. She said she was mortified. I mean, you got to wonder too, if this isn't a real success, is she going to want to come back and do it? Right? I mean, there has been, next to Guardians 3, next to Mission Impossible, this is up there. I mean, you can mix them up all you want. Those three movies are the top three most anticipated movies. And you got, like I said, you got to wonder if this is successful, does she want to come back because of all of this? Because this may be the detractor that be like, I'm not, there was a lot of stuff going on before. I don't know if I want to do this again. Let's just put it behind me and move on. So, once again, I feel bad for her. I mean, I'm sure she's going to do great, but I feel bad for her. Anyways, guys, what do you think about when you hear a story like this, that Margot Robbie was self-conscious about her, her position when she was doing this? Do you feel bad for her? Do you think Ryan should have said something to everybody, saying, go over and talk to Margot, she really needs it? Or do you think he should have just kept his mouth shut? Leave me your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll get back to you.